Hello YouTube, this gentleman scholar. First time I've ever smoked a cigar on this channel. And the cigar is a Connecticut Obscuro Habano from the Fatty Fig Sampler. I have to admit, I've had a cigar once before. It's a different smoking experience than a pipe. Retrohale's different. I can see why this would go good with brandy or something like that. Saw Bride of Frankenstein last night, and Boris Karloff's Monster was given a cigar by that blind guy playing the fiddle, and he's like, "Smoke good." Yeah, definitely a new smoking experience for me. I had one at a cigar bar once in Wisconsin. Was it Milwaukee? Can't remember. Anyways, someone took me to a cigar bar, and I just lit it and smoked it without even thinking about it. Now, of course, I'm thinking about it. I look a lot more awkward doing it. Anyway, at least the hat's appropriate for what I'm smoking. All I can picture is the guy on what was it? A Christmas Story when he delivers the leg lamp. And of course, the guy's got this little tiny stub of cigar in there, and he's earmuffs on. And what is it? I don't know. Well, what's in it? He just shrugs like, I just told you, I don't fucking know. and, not he didn't say that, but that's what his shrug was for. And of course, this little cigar is right at the corner of his mouth. Also, I think of the guy in the first Terminator movie. You know, hey, right? You running? Are you cooking it? Are you? You got a dead cat in there? And of course, his cigar is even more of a stub, right at the corner of his mouth. Lifelong smoker. You're smoking a. Was it you cooking a cat in there? You got a dead cat in there? And of course, Arnie gives him his response from all those other chosen responses the Terminator could give him. It feels like I have a wet piece of paper in my mouth, which I guess is what it is. Anyway, I just wanted to check in, say hello, provide a little presence, because that's how one maintains their presence in the YouTube pipe community. Here, you can put this down. You can let it burn a little bit, then take a draw. Anyway, first one. Just came back from a Dallas-Fort Worth trip yesterday, a couple days ago. Didn't want to go on this one. I don't like leaving my husband. I guess I'm ready to be retired. And that's the bottom line. Ready to be retired. Anyway, saw a great movie yesterday called The Nightingale. Apparently it's from the director of the Bada Book, but this one's about the Australian penal colony experience, and it's breathtakingly brutal in some places, but the overall story gives you hope about race relations. Of course, it's not done in a bang you over the head type of way. But it was really, really excellent. It sucked you right in, and it just it reminded me of watching a really gritty western, to be honest. So I would highly recommend it. I don't know why it was under horror. You can get it on Amazon Prime. getting ready for the Doctor Who episode tonight, which will be Jodie Whittaker's, the 13th Doctor's, 13th? Yeah, the 13th Doctor's final appearance before she regenerates into a new Doctor called Shuri Nagawa. Jodie Whittaker was the first woman Doctor. Oh, there's my bit of ash. Interesting. Alright, guess I'm doing this right then. I don't know if I'll take to cigars regularly, to be honest. Anyway, Doctor Who. If you're not familiar with Doctor Who, the Doctor is a time traveler from the planet Gallifrey. He was once considered to be, I don't know, he was a Time Lord, which is, I guess, a rarefied part of a society on the planet Gallifrey. He was a Time Lord, like a Lord. Like, like upper gentry, I suppose. And apparently it did not agree with him. Did not like the Time Lord society he came from, so he stole a TARDIS and fled. A TARDIS is a time and relative in dimensions and stands for time and relative dimensions in space. It's a capsule. It's supposed to be able to blend in with its other surroundings, wherever it is in time and space. It can travel through time and space. Has a chameleon circuit. It can meld in to its environment, except the Doctor's broke on his first adventure. At least the first adventure that we see him on, way back in 1963. It was in the form of a British police call box. It's blue, and shows up in prehistoric time. Shows up in, I don't know, I forget which period. Humans were crawling around in caves, and it was basically a poor man's quest for fire. That episode was. And it stayed stuck in that position ever since. Anyway, the whole point between the Doctors, he goes off traveling through time and space, having adventures. He usually brings along companions with him, mostly from planet Earth. So he has someone to explain all the stuff to, so the audience can also get it. But once upon a time, the first person to play the Doctor is a gent called William Hartnell, an English character actor, who's he was a household name, I'd say, in the UK by that time. But his ailing health basically prompted him to quit the show. So now, of course, the Doctor is a huge success. In the UK. What are we going to do? We have to keep the show going. So well, he's an alien. Let's just make him younger. Regenerate him somehow. And a young chap, he looks sort of like one of the Three Stooges. Patrick Troughton took over. And it wasn't even explained how it was part of the TARDIS, part of his time machine. And he regenerated into someone younger. And against all odds, that gambit worked. And he had two companions with him at the time who witnessed the regeneration. So they're like, is he younger? Is it the same guy? What the hell's going on? And so because of that, Doctor Who was able to continue. The character now has virtual immortality, so every time an actor decides to leave the role, he regenerates into a new actor. And a Time Lord in times of great stress and peril, and the body's on the verge of death, the body can regenerate. And it's happened 12 or 13 times, and you've got a whole slew of different actors who've played the role, including the very famous Tom Baker. But that's the one that everyone here in the States can read. He's probably the most famous classic Doctor. He's the guy with the hat, the mop of curly brown hair, and the scarf. He had the role for 7 years, so that's why everyone recognizes him in the role. And to be honest, when I was slightly familiar with Doctor Who when I was a kid, all of a sudden pictures of Peter Davison started showing up, and it's like, why does the Doctor look different, and why does no one around him seem to mention it? Well, that's why. He regenerates. Anyway, Jodie Whittaker was the first female to take over the role. It had been hinted over the years that the Doctor can regenerate into a female. And it finally happened. It was very controversial, not least of which that the Doctor was now a woman. But also, I hate to say it, Jodie Whittaker did a fine job, but the writing left a lot to be desired. Very uneven episodes up and down. That's just my opinion. up and down, up and down, up and down. Made it very hard to warm up to the character. But I liked her as the Doctor. I wish I would have got to know her more, and she had better material to work with. Anyway, she's regenerating tonight into someone called Shuri Nagawa. It'll be the first Doctor of color, male again, and of course that causes all kinds of controversy. I don't know why. He's an alien life form, so who cares? But he wants to stick with the Doctor for a while, and we'll be seeing him in the last few minutes after Jodie regenerates into him. Anyway, I fell in love with the show back in the 80s. My first Doctor was Peter Davison. You probably recognize him from All Creatures Great and Small, the first version. And he was a very young Doctor at the time, and that was controversial. But anyway, it's a really unique show. It's a really unique show. It survived so many cancellation attempts, and it's now what's the word I'm looking for? It's an institution. It's a British institution, and it's had its hardcore fans across the States and down in Australia and all over the world. But since the show was relaunched in 2005 with an actual budget, more befitting a science fiction TV program, it's gone global. Doctor Who is now pretty much. You mentioned Star Trek. You mentioned Doctor Who. It's okay to like both. But yeah, it's now an institution, and I greatly look forward to seeing it tonight. So thank you for sticking with me through that little diatribe. They're bringing back 2 classic companions from the original show. So that should be... It's got a lot to cover in an hour and a half that it's going to air. So a lot of plot lines that need to be tied up. And I predict it's going to be a mess, but I'm a devoted Doctor Who fan, so I'm going to watch it. Okay, I'm up to 12 minutes. What other things did I want to cover? Thank you, Edward Hobbs, for the shout out on your video. I'm glad you got that package. Edward Hobbs sent me some tobacco a little while back, but I couldn't immediately reciprocate. And I know you don't send people in the YTPC stuff to get stuff back. I get that, but it was a surprise to me to receive it. Edward's a very kind Southern gentleman. So I kind of wanted to turn the favor, but then my hip operation happened, and the bills started piling up, so I didn't have a chance. And now I recently have a steady paycheck coming in, so I gladly went to Pipes and Cigars and sent him a couple tins of one of these. I think it wasn't Santa Surprise. It was Autumn Leaves and Portrait. I'm not sure if it's an aromatic or not, but it has a very rustic flavor, a nutty flavor, something you can imagine Norman Rockwell smoking. And Norman Rockwell himself is an American institution. Look him up on the internet and you'll see what I mean. I was taken with his illustrations back when I was about 10, 11 years old, and been a fan since. I even joined the museum. Museum's down in Stockbridge, Massachusetts. There's another one up in Vermont as well. I've been to both. But Norman Rockwell paints the ideal American life the way, well, a lot of people picture it, just like homespun values, life on the farm. You know it when you see it. So for those of you unfamiliar, please Google Norman Rockwell and you'll see what I mean. What else do I want to cover? Yes, as you know, I won't ever shut up about H.P. Lovecraft, and another New England institution, believe it or not. And so I'm going through a story. I forget the name of the story. It's the creeping. I don't know. Anyway, basically you have this gentleman corresponding with an amateur scientist up in Vermont somewhere. We're talking way up in the wilds of Vermont. And he's afraid of these crab-like creatures invading his home, and they speak in buzzing voices, and they're gonna call forth this ancient entity called Shub-Nugaroth, the goat with 1,000 children, or whatever. So anyway, this correspondent gets drawn up there, and I gotta say, H.P. Lovecraft's descriptions of New England, we're talking pre-industrial New England, they're quite beautiful, I have to say. And having been raised in New England myself, I found them rather touching. And of course, here I am in my e-reader, like, highlighting entire passages because I think H.P. Lovecraft himself had, he felt it in his bones. He himself, was born and raised in Providence, Rhode Island, and he speaks of the place as if he knows what he's talking about. He mentions the Boston-Montreal train line that I used to see as a kid, passing by my grandmother's house. There's a B and an M, a logo. It was unmistakable, usually on the blue engine. And yeah, so between bouts of creeping death and unnameable horrors and odd angles and buzzing insectile voices out in the wilds of Vermont, you get wonderful descriptions of the countryside. So, yeah, made me feel good to read it, actually, to be quite honest. That's all I wanted to speak about, really, which is good because I'm going on 16 minutes. Brought some more wood in today as the temperature's going to fall. It's going to start raining soon. I hope you're all doing well, and I'm very pleased to be part of such a warm and supportive community. And thank you all for helping me to be a welcome part of that community, the YTPC. Brought this olive wood piper at an antique shop a little while back, but it was kind of blocked. I'm obviously going to have to polish it a little bit. But I dug it out, and I think I'll be able to... I shook loose some of the crap that was caked up in there. But next time I'll do a video, I might try smoking that and see how far it takes me. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for staying with me for 17 minutes now. Appreciate your time and attention, and we'll speak to you soon. À la prochaine, as they say in Quebec.